They deem his ability level up useless, so he has no choice but to go on his own. While others become stronger with limits, this guy continues to become formidable as he levels up. Not only that, every time he levels up, his MP and HP refresh and gains new skills. There is more to him, but before I spoil the fun, let's start the story. The story begins when Chenba got kicked out of his party. Martha, the girl with the witch hat, points out that he is just garbage at their party, telling him to acquire some useful skills to become stronger. She jokingly tells him not to worry because they are still in Akatsuki, and then they laugh. After that, she called Jane, informing him that Chenba was leaving the party. Jane was shocked and couldn't believe what these two did. But for Martha, she thinks there's just no helping it because for adventurers, skills are the most important thing. Everyone receives one at the age of 15 and your whole life is determined by it. Chenba's skill is level up. Everyone laughs at it because no one knows what it does. Martha thinks it's probably a useless skill compared to hers. She has extreme fire magic, and Naru has holy magic, which is why it's gotten hard for Chenba to stay at their party. Jane faced the two, asking what Chenba would do now if they kicked him out of the party. Martha replied that she didn't know, and Naru advised him to forget about it, as it was already over. Then, the two walked away, leaving Jane worried for Chenba. After that, Chenba starts to train, fighting the orc on his own. He knew going solo would end like this. Until now, he just had to draw enemies as a tank, and defeating them was everyone else's job. He then realized he had already left the party, and there was no place for him in Akatsuki. He decided to do it on his own and charge towards the orc, but the orc had already lifted its brutal weapon made of a giant bone, ready to strike him. Chenba managed to block it while calming himself down and successfully landed a counter slash. To his surprise, another orc charged toward him, but he blocked the hit properly and then counter-attacked. Gasping for air, Chenba remarks that he can do it alone and charges towards the remaining orc. The orc fights back and slams his face, forcing him to kneel on the ground. The orc grabs him by the face and is ready to smash his brain into pieces. At that moment, he remembers Martha and Naru calling him a useless burden. In anger, he managed to grab his sword and successfully struck the orc in the chest, killing it. Chenba, still lying on the ground, thought to himself that he was nearly dead from just those weak monsters and he couldn't move his body. He looked at the sky, questioning his limitations and wondering if he would die like this. His vision is starting to blur, but suddenly, he heard a voice informing him that he had leveled up and that his HP and MP had been fully restored. He can't believe that all his wounds are healed. He asked what that voice was. Suddenly, a glowing panel appeared in front of him, displaying the status of HP, MP, and numbers. Seeing those numbers, he can understand that they represent his abilities and could be his level up skill. Judging by that glowing panel and those apparent stat increases written there, that must mean his physical abilities had improved. He summed up what he knew so far. First, when he levels up, his HP and MP will fully recover. HP is his stamina, so that's why his injuries healed. Additionally, along with HP and MP, attack, defense, and speed stats will also increase. Those were the numbers displayed on the glowing panel earlier. With that skill, he could get even stronger. Chenba was thrilled about what he had discovered, realizing his skill wasn't useless after all. Following that, Chenba continued his training and fought more monsters. He can feel that his body is lighter than before. Even when swinging his swords, it feels easier now. Since his MP has increased, he can now use magic, something he couldn't do before. And most importantly, he can now easily defeat orcs that gave him so much trouble before. Then the system appeared once again, informing him that he had leveled up again. This makes him happy, because he knows that defeating monsters is how he levels up. Now that he knows this, it'll go a lot faster. Later that day, at the chamber's new base, Rumble, Chenba is lying on his bed observing his status window, thinking why his level isn't going up at all. Even though he fought monsters endlessly to level up even more, he believes there must be a reason why his level isn't increasing. Perhaps because he continued to hunt the same monsters, or because the monsters were too weak compared to his power, or because leveling up naturally becomes harder. He is eager to get stronger that night. The next day, at the Adventurer Guild, Chenba scans the guild quest board, looking for a new quest, and finds out nothing. He then requested that the guild receptionist Nyako introduce him to a better quest, but Nyako rejected his request. Chenba didn't quit and tried to praise Nyako's beautiful cat ears. Hearing this, Nyako stood up and, even angrier, clarified that she is a noble tiger, not a cat. Also, she always says their quests go to whoever's faster and questions Chenba on how long he has even been active in the Rumble. Suddenly, the two stop arguing after hearing a girl's voice shouting, kicking their priest out of their party because of her useless skill. Hearing this, Chenba flashes back to Martha and Naru mocking him. The abandoned priest was mocked by her former party, stating that there's a better place out there, more fitting for a failure like her. This made the cute girl cry, as she accepted that her previous party was right. Out of nowhere, our protagonist enters the scene to comfort the priest, stating that there's a better place for her too. This leaves the girl wondering why someone like Chenba, who doesn't even know her, would say such a thing. Our pervert protagonist drops the most embarrassing punchline of all time. The place he was referring to is in his own place, leaving everyone shocked. The priest also got blushed. Chenba felt embarrassed, stating that he didn't mean it that way. The short-haired girl commented that the priest had already already found someone to take care of her. She meant the priest's face was cute, even if she had no real skill, but soon enough, they would realize how useless her oracle skill really was. Before leaving, she mocked the two as a cute pair, taking in the whole pathetic vibe and stuff, and then left. After that, the two had drinks. Chenba revealed that he had also been kicked out of his party, so when he was down, he drank an ale. He then introduces himself and states that he is also a solo adventurer. The priest also introduced her name as Ile, technically a D-rank adventurer. Chenba is technically a C-rank adventurer, but since he is now solo, it's more like he is a D-rank now. Ile suddenly bursts out crying and stops Chenba because if he puts it that way, she must be at least an E-rank, or else it would be worse. She told Chenba that she was a priest, but the only healing spell she could use was a low-grade lesser heal. Chenba could use a potion instead of her heal, pointing out that she was really useless. Chenba was about to say something about people like them, but Ile suddenly spoke. She tells Chenba that he needs 30 more experience to reach the next level. That statement left Chenba shocked, and he called her name. Ile felt sorry because sometimes the words that pop into her head just come out of her mouth on their own, like just now, stuff that makes no sense. Chenba was speechless and shocked as he realized Ailey had mentioned level up. He then stood up and held Ailey's shoulder, saying he needed her. On the other hand, Martha expelled a swordsman from their party and warned him that if he fought back, Martha wouldn't miss her next attack. The poor swordsman, afraid to do anything, leaves. Naru commented that another one had failed again. Jane sighs and states that the two may be being a bit too harsh. Martha replied that they need someone truly worthy of Akatsuki, to which Naru agreed. But for Jane, since Chenba left, 3 more members have been kicked out, and it seems those girls think they're special ever since they gained powerful skills. He questioned whether a skill can really change a person so much. The party Akatsuki has steadily climbed in rank, but sometimes he wonders if this is really okay. It feels different than before. He then remembered the time when Chenba was still in their party and realized that maybe Chenba's strength wasn't enough. But is there really no place for Chenba in Akatsuki? He then wondered what Chenba was doing that time. Meanwhile, Chenba was fighting with goblins in the forest. Ailey warned him to look behind. To his surprise, a goblin was ready to attack him. Chenba managed to block the attack and then successfully landed a precise strike towards the goblin and thanked Ailey. These two ugly, useless adventurers were both exiled from their parties, so they decided to form a party together. It's been a while since this pervert guy did a quest with a team. He's been fighting solo for a long time. He warned Ailey to keep her head up because more goblins are coming, to which Ailey affirmed. Goblins charged towards them, but Chenba managed to kill them one by one. He has definitely gotten stronger than before, all thanks to his level up skill. On the other side, Ailey was amazed and praised Chenba for his incredible strength. Chenba looks irritated, but deep inside, he is happy because he actually did well, and a girl praising him makes his sword even harder. He then praised his almighty level up, which boosts his stats as he gains experience from defeating monsters. By the way, Ailey's skill is Mythos. It's a bit of a strange one too. After that, the two went for a drink, and out of nowhere, Ailey spoke that Chenba needs 15 more experience to level up. Ailey's subskill oracle gives spoken information about people nearby. In Chenba's case, it tells him how close he is to leveling up. Chenba picked up his booklet from his pocket. Yesterday, the oracle said he had 30 left, and he just took down 5 goblins today, so each goblin gives 3 experience. The total experience needed to level up this time is 120. Last time it was 60, so that means the required experience doubles with each level. Suddenly, Ailey slammed her mug onto the table, looked drunk, and asked Chenba why he wasn't drinking. Chenba told her that she drinks too much and called it a night, to which Ailey replies that she is totally fine, and fixes her gaze towards Chenba as she sees another prophecy, and the magic happens. The next day, now that the two had brought up some unwanted memories, they continued their party. The last goblin's XP should push Chenba to level up. Suddenly, Ailey called him and grabbed his hand, looking at his injured elbow. She wanted to heal it right away, but before Ailey can cast her healing spell, Chenba got a level up as he calculated. On the other side, Ailey was shocked seeing Chenba's wounds already healed, even though she didn't cast her healing spell. It must be healed from leveling up, and this was the first time Chenba leveled up in front of Ailey. He thinks he needs to explain a few things to Ailey. Night came, and the two rested in the middle of the forest while eating their food. After explaining to Ailey his skill ability, Ailey is honestly shocked that a skill like that exists. At the same time, she's kinda jealous compared to her skill, which isn't really cut out for adventuring. Out of nowhere, Chenba asks why Ailey became an adventurer. She admitted that she wanted revenge and started telling her story. It happened when she was very young. She was the second daughter in a family of 4. Her parents were traveling merchants, so they were often away from home. Her older sister, who was 7 years old at that time, had already helped their parents. Ailey was left with acquaintances during that time. That day, she said goodbye to her family, as usual, and waited for them to come back. However, they never returned because they were attacked and killed by bandits during their travels. After losing her family, she was sent to an orphanage. She wondered why something so terrible had happened to such kind and innocent people. She shut herself away and kept thinking about it. Gradually, her heart was consumed by hatred, which is why she became an adventurer, determined to exact revenge one day. Hearing this, Chenba became speechless. Ailey asks him if he got a surprise, to which Chenba responds that he didn't. Ailey affirms that all is in her past now. Living only for revenge as the sole survivor, that's not what her kind family would have wanted. Besides, those criminals are probably wanted fugitives by now. They surely have already suffered for what they did. So now, her goal is to become a great adventurer. She then asked if Chenba thought of her as a kind of weakling for that goal. Chenba disagrees and smiles, saying that they will become amazing adventurers together. Ailey didn't expect that answer, but agreed. Meanwhile, they finished their meals, and Chenba was very full. Observing Ailey was silently watching him, he asked her what it was. Ailey was just curious why he became an adventurer, so she begged him to tell his story. He starts to explain why he became an adventurer. One day, he met a 10-year-old boy who had just defeated a low-ranking grown adventurer. It was Jane, his former party member. They duel for 33 matches, and he didn't even land a single good hit on Jane. Jane advised him to give up because he doesn't have any talent, and there are things that hard work and guts alone just can't overcome. Chenba already knows that, but there are some things he just can't give up on. That's why he has to keep giving it everything he's got. No matter what anyone says, he won't give up. Jane smiled at Chenba's stubbornness and informed him that his refusal to quit is also a kind of talent. He introduced himself and asked for his name. Chenba shouted and introduced himself, adding that he's going to be the world's greatest adventurer. Chenba said that in the heat of the moment and just ran with it. Ailey sees them as rivals because that kind of relationship sounded nice to her. With a piercing look, Chenba wishes it really were that simple. On the other side, at the Akatsuki party, another swordsman leaves the room, slamming the door in anger. While Naru was waving goodbye to the man, Martha commented that it was totally useless. Jane arrived, asking how many people they had kicked out, adding that the last guy was decent enough for him. Martha cut him off, stating that the guy was not fit for their party. Hard work means nothing if you don't have the talent. Jane equipped his armor and weapon, stating that when it comes to swords, he's confident that he is second to none. But that's because he never rested on talent. Instead, he kept training hard. Talent isn't everything, and he considers himself lucky to have realized that. He then called Naru and Martha, letting them know that he can't get along with them after all, and declared that Akatsuki is now disbanded. Shocked, Martha dropped her drinks, shouting at Jane as she explained that Akatsuki was on the verge of ranking up to A rank. Even S rank wasn't out of reach. She asked what his problem was, reminding him that they were the best party. Jane responded that in terms of ability, maybe she's right, but that's not everything. Martha asked him if he had already chosen someone else to team up with. Jane wonders if teaming up with Chenba could be an interesting option. From now on, he wants to start over alone, leaving the two ugly losers behind. Jane also aims to become the greatest adventurer from scratch, just like Chenba, who hasn't given up either. On the other side, while Chenba was calmly sitting in the den, he almost called his mom when Ailey's cold glass of ale touched his face. She invited him to drink more with her, but he refused, saying he had had enough. All of a sudden, Ailey spoke again, saying Chenba needs 60 more experience points to level up. Ailey's oracle skill conveys information about nearby people. Lately, they've been waiting for it over a post-quest drink. He then pulled out his book. The total needed is 60. If he back calculates from today's results, each level up requires double the total experience. Ailey called him, stating that if he keeps spacing out, she will drink both glasses. Chenba, against his will, grabs and drinks his beer. When he commented on how she could handle liquor, Ailey suddenly went quiet as tears fell on her drink. Oh no, did Chenba do something wrong? He apologizes, clarifying he didn't mean anything bad by what he said. Ailey denied that, but she admitted that drinking with him is fun. She always felt like the dead weight of every party, but drinking a lay after a quest like this makes her feel like a real adventurer. It was just that she was really happy. Is that the new trend of happiness now? Crying a twin river of tears? Chenba commented that he was at rock bottom after being kicked out, but was glad he met her. Chenba didn't finish what he wanted to say as he saw Ailey already fall asleep. The next day, Ailey instructed Chenba to hurry up. Mr. Purvey thought Ailey drank so much yesterday, yet she's completely fine today. Out of nowhere, goblins appeared, and the two braced themselves for the fight. They easily killed the other goblins, but more goblins are coming to them. Chenba used his sword to kill the monsters while Ailey used his wand to hit one goblin on the head. Shortly after, the two looked very tired as they managed to eliminate all the goblins. Working as a duo really helps each other. After that, the system showed that Chenba had leveled up again and didn't realize they had defeated that many goblins already. He then notices something on Ailey's head, while the system informs him that he has learned the party formation. He wondered what that was because he had never seen anything like that before. He opened his status window and saw the party formation. Members who joined the chamber were 1 out of 4. That eligible part member was none other than Ailey. He noticed there's an arrow next to her name, so he taps it. The system wants his approval to add Ailey to his party. This makes Chenba worried because Ailey and he are already teaming up, and he doesn't want to make a decision on his own, so he asks Ailey if she wants to team up with him. Ailey paused momentarily before stating they were already at a party. Panicking, Chenba clarified that it was an official party. Ailey agrees, reminding him of what he said said they would become great adventurers together. So, of course, her answer was yes, and she was looking forward to their journey together. After that, Chenba pressed yes, and waited to see what happened next, because this had to mean something. Now that they were officially a party, Aili suggested they continue doing quests. Since they still have time before sunset, Chenba agrees and decides to check out Noya Forest. In the blink of an eye, the two made it to Noya Forest. Now that they are officially teamed up, they are getting more in sync. While Chenba killed all the monsters they encountered, Aili used her healing spell to treat Chenba's injuries. After that, they collect every magic stone from the monsters they killed to net a bit of cash at the guild. Out of nowhere, the system announced that Aile had leveled up, leaving the two stunned, as Aile's HP and MP had just fully recovered. Aile was curious about what was happening. There was a strange sound, and her body began to glow. Chenba thinks party members can level up once they're officially added, and wonders if it could be the true effect of the party formation skill. He then instructed Aile to open her status screen. As Aile confusedly said status, it instantly popped up, making her surprised to see her status screen. She couldn't believe that she had leveled up, so she asked Chenba if it was because of his skill. Chenba agreed and taught Aile about her current stats, which increase whenever she levels up. Aile was so happy that she really got stronger. She looked at her status window and informed Chenba that he had learned an attack spell named Light Arrow. That's made her excited because she was only familiar with using her healing magic. After that, Chenba suggested trying her new attack skill at one of the big trees. Aile cast her lightning arrow and successfully hit the target. She can't believe that she was the one who made a hole in the tree. Following that, Chenba sensed danger and shouted to Aile to get back close to him as goblins suddenly appeared everywhere. The two hurriedly ran fast to retreat as the goblins started to chase them. Chenba warns Aile not to stop running. To their surprise, goblins cut them from the side, but they managed to kill two of them. They continue to run as more goblins are nearing them. Suddenly, a goblin managed to grab Aile's backpack, preventing her from moving. Chenba shouted for her to drop her backpack. Aile did as he said and then continued to run. Chenba noticed the goblins got distracted by the supplies, so he threw his backpack as well towards the goblins to buy more time and kept running until they were out of the forest. The two was exhausted, gasping for air. It looked like the goblins didn't chase them outside the forest, so Chenba suggested heading back to the Rumble and reporting what happened to the guild. Meanwhile, at Rumbletown Adventurers Guild, after Nayako heard what happened in Noya Forest, she looked at her colleague. She then instructed Chenba to proceed to the second floor and follow her colleague. The girl with an elf ear guides him the way and knocks on the door before opening it. As Chenba enters the room, a man drinking tea and wearing glasses greets him and apologizes for summoning him. Chenba asked the man if he was waiting for him, and the man with glasses affirmed. He likes to formally assign a quest to Chenba and introduce himself as Shiratai, the guild manager. Chenba asks why someone like Shiratai would come to see him. The manager abruptly stands like a game show host, stating that they were hoping to count on Chenba's connection to Akatsuki, the party currently gaining the most momentum and on the verge of reaching A rank. Chenba was stunned and clenched his fist, disagreeing that he had once been with the Akatsuki, and back then, they were still just a C rank. Shiratai understood, but based on what they heard about his recent accomplishments, they believed Chenba's abilities were more than up to the task. He told the kid that there was no need to be so tense about it because it was just a scouting request this time. After that, Chenba and Aile headed to Noya Forest to conduct their investigation. As informed, a large number of goblins have been confirmed in that forest. They want to investigate the cause and conduct the investigation during the daytime. Goblins become active at night, so there should be fewer of them during the day. However, the guild believes there may be a king goblin in that forest. Chenba recalls that Shiratai warned them to be careful because the king goblin is an extremely powerful monster. Therefore, if they encounter it, they should retreat and run immediately. Chenba gritted his teeth as he recalled Shiratai's words telling him not to worry, because it was just a scouting mission. But for Chenba, that sounds seriously dangerous. Aile called his name and asked what was wrong because he looked a bit grim. In response, he seriously asked Aile if she was sure about the mission, as it could be extremely dangerous. Aile asks him if he thinks she's not dependable, and reminds him that they were party, confirming she would come with him. Chenba agrees, and they continue their investigation. Afterwards, they saw a goblin swordsman. It's larger than a regular goblin and far stronger. It moves with several goblins under its command. You could say it's a mini-boss among goblins. While the two hid in the bushes, Aile asked Chenba if he had fought one before. He answered that he hadn't yet. However, with their current capabilities, they can do it. Now they had courage and charged towards the goblins. Aile cast her light arrow towards the goblin swordsman and successfully hit the eye. As expected of a goblin swordsman, one hit isn't enough, so it can't be taken down in one blow. However, Chenba was ready to strike. The goblin saw it coming, tried to counter his attack, but missed. With that, Chenba managed to cut the goblin swordsman's head, but he was left with a small cut on his face. The remaining goblins were stunned and panicked as they saw their leader had been killed. So, the duo took the opportunity to finish the remaining goblins. When they were done, Aili used her lesser heal on Chenba and warned him not to push himself too hard, as this was a scouting mission. However, Chenba still wants to gain as much experience as possible. If they run into the king goblin, they will have a better chance of surviving if they have leveled up by then. During the daytime, there shouldn't be any large group of goblins. If they spot them and call for backup, that would be a problem. Aili agrees and motivates him to keep leveling fast and take down the Goblin King as well. The two continue their journey to the forest, encounter more goblins, and take a break just to eat bread. After that, they saw remains of a campsite and goblin tracks all around. They think adventurers were attacked there. Chenba recalls his conversation with Shiratai, informing him that a C-rank party has gone missing in the Noya forest. If possible, Shiratai would appreciate it if he could also investigate that. Chenba looks blank and thinks of a king goblin and missing adventurers. This isn't just something other adventurers ran away from and dumped on him, right? On the other side, Aili saw something shiny on the ground. She grabbed it and found out that it was Miss Adelina's earring. She was the leader of the party that expelled Aile. They think Adelina's party was camping there and might be attacked by a horde of goblins. Aile asks Chenba if he would be willing to search a bit deeper into the forest. She knows it is dangerous, but even so, she wants to go. Chenba agrees and figures out that she would say that. Then they try to follow the goblins' tracks. Meanwhile, as they delve deeper into the forest, they see many goblin corpses, with blood trails leading deeper in, until it led into a cave with blood on the wall, and it's pitch dark inside. Chenba commanded Aili to stay back and lift his hand, then cast a light spell. Now that they can see clearly, even if there are goblins inside, he thinks they don't suddenly attack them just because of the light. Chenba asks if anyone is there. A voice answered, asking who was there and inquiring if they were an adventurer. They turned their heads to the voice and found Adelina's party, which looked exhausted and had numerous bruises. As soon as Aile saw Adelina, she ran towards her and healed her right away. Adelina didn't think Aile would be the one saving her. She then asked Aile why she would help them after they had kicked her out of the party. Aile smiles and says it doesn't matter. She became an adventurer because she wants to help people, doing what anyone should. Adelina replies and tells Aile that she is a hopeless do-gooder, but since Aile saved her, she thanks her. Aile disagreed and felt sorry for sounding so self-righteous. After that, they decided to leave the cave, and Adelina promised to treat them when they returned to town. As the guy with a mustache observed the outside, they saw a goblin mage. It's a low tier, but it can use a magic attack, and that's what would be their problem. Adeline commented that they don't have any ranged attacks and suggested they need to get close before it notices them. Out of nowhere, Aili already cast her light arrow and hit the goblin mage, leaving her previous party member jaw-dropped, unable to believe that Aili could use a magic attack. Following that, Chenba rushed forward to finish the remaining goblins. While the three weaklings watching them were traumatized, they couldn't believe what was happening. All of a sudden, the system announced that Chenba had leveled up to 7, and Aile also leveled up to 6. The two were very happy because it had been a while since they had leveled up. Watching monkeys, the two swordsmen from Adelina's party commented that they didn't know Aili could smile like that, and thought something about her had changed. She seemed brighter than before. Seeing this, Adelina thought that Aile had changed thanks to Chenba. She then told everyone to move. After a while, Chenba points out that they should follow him, and suggests that if they retrace their steps, they will soon reach the forest exit. Close by, they encounter two goblins once again. The guy with a mustache stepped forward and drew his axe, wanting the goblins to pay for the last time. Unknown to him, there was a hooded figure above the tree. As he teased the goblins to attack him, the hooded figure leaped towards him and landed a cut into his abdomen while he was fighting with the goblins. Everyone froze, eyes wide with disbelief as they witnessed what had just happened. Blood sprays through the air, scattered, leaving Valdez lifeless on the ground. Chenba was in disbelief, asking what that thing was. Ricard told Adelina that they should run, but she disagreed and told Ricard to stop whining like that. She would rather not fight it head on, but it doesn't look like the mysterious person is going to let them go. Then they decided to work together and find a way through this. She commands Aili to cover them from the rear, and Aili agrees. Chenba will take the front line. He was a tank to begin with. Adelina also commanded Ricard to focus on attacking the enemy. It looked dangerous, so she told everyone to stay sharp. Chenba was nervous, but he thinks it will be fine because he has leveled up and is now stronger. Everyone readied themselves. Aili cast her light arrow, but the hooded figure dodged it. Chenba lunged forward to attack, but the enemy dodged all his attacks. It's so fast that the movement looks unreal. The enemy lunged with a counterattack, but Chenba blocked it. Its counterattacks are terrifying, and only the speed is keeping them alive. On the other side, Ricard quickly dashes forward, seizing the perfect moment to strike from behind. He lands a hit, but the strike had no effect. He looks and sees the enemy hiding a sword under the rubble. The hooded guy reacted in a flash, countered, and plunged the sword straight into Ricard's stomach. Ricard grabs the enemy's hoodie, revealing it was a black goblin that looks malnourished. With a blink of an eye, the goblin strikes Chenba, but he barely evades the attack attacks on time, causing a blood drip under his eye. Chenba was caught off guard, waiting for the goblin's strike to come. Out of nowhere, Ailey strikes the goblin's face using her light arrow, but it didn't work. The goblin was angry and lunged towards her. Chenba couldn't do anything but shout to Ailey to get out of there. Ailey froze and didn't know what to do as the goblin drew close to her. Luckily, Adelina dashed in on time and deflected the attack, but she was slightly hit, causing a few drops of blood to fall to the ground as she coughed up some blood. As she stood, she told Ailey that she had settled her debt. Ailey hurried to heal her wounds, but Adelina told her to stay away because they didn't have enough time for that. The black goblin rushed towards them again and was ready to strike. Adelina can't move, waiting for the goblin's sword to hit her. At that moment, Chenba lands a solid strike from behind, causing the black goblin to growl in pain. Chenba strikes won't cut the goblins. It's like hitting a solid rock. In anger, the goblin lunged toward him and struck him, but he managed to block it, so the goblin kicked him, causing him to be thrown toward the trees. This opportunity was taken by Adelina and dashed towards the goblin and aimed a strike at his head. But the goblin saw it coming, blocked it, but Adelina truly aimed at the goblin's eye and successfully pierced it. The goblin screamed in pain. At the same time, Adelina comments that the eyes don't seem so tough. Still, with the blink of an eye, the goblin managed to direct a hit into her stomach. Ailey asks Adelina why she would do something so reckless. Adelina replied that it was just stubborn pride because, as a party leader, she won't just stand by and let her comrades be killed while she runs away. She was also the one who kicked Ailey out of their party, and now that Ailey was no longer their comrade, Ailey didn't owe them anything. After she told Ailey to run, the black goblin ripped Adelina's body in front of Ailey, causing her to drop to the ground, scared. On the other side, Chenba saw Adelina risk her life to give him a chance. Right now, its left side is wide open. Even if he can't cut it, if he aims for the head, he could smash it with everything he has. He leaps from behind the goblin and is ready to smash its head with full power. Suddenly, his sword was broken and split in half, and he didn't know what had happened. Just now, there was something like green fire on Goblin's sword. Daddy Goblin grabbed his neck, choked him, and lifted him mid-air. He can feel the power of the goblin was strong, even though he thought he had grown stronger after leveling up, and questioned if this thing was even a goblin. He's nowhere near strong enough to fight it. Everyone's down, including him. He then saw Ailey, scared, sitting on the ground, which gave him the courage to fight back. If he dies here, Ailey will die too. Ailey trusted him and followed him into this. He has to protect her, and he will survive no matter what. He desperately reached the goblin's face and immediately cast his light spell, making the goblin release him. While the goblin endured the pain, he hurried to Ailey to pick her up and leave the place. When they reached Rumble Town, they went inside the Adventurers Guild. Nyako hurried and asked what had happened to them. After seeing blood, she shouted that it was serious. Chenba says that someone needs to report this to Mr. Shiratai. As Nyako advises him not to move, Mr. Shiratai arrives and knows that something has clearly happened there. But first, he wants to treat Chenba's wounds, and they will discuss this afterward. They entered the room and commanded Chenba to sit. A bald man who looked like a discounted Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson introduced himself as Dinkle, the guild master of Rumble. According to him, the black goblin they encountered might be under the protection of an evil god. Speaking of gods, there's the goddess Nia. She's the only deity on this continent that grants them skills, but that's just from a human perspective. If humans have gods, then other beings must also have gods, including monsters. To put it bluntly, an evil god is simply any god outside their faith. All of them get labeled as evil gods. That black goblin might be a creature blessed by Ajdahaka, a god worshipped by monsters. It's like the skills they have, a similar kind of ability. Hearing this, Chenba realizes the black goblin's speed and toughness make perfect sense now. Dinkle added that to begin with, it wasn't an opponent Chenba could handle at his rank. It's a harsh way to put it, but Chenba was just unlucky. Shiratai apologized to Chenba because he never imagined things would turn out like this. They already requested backup from other guilds regarding the King's Goblin and Black Goblin. They will take care of the rest and consider the request completed. Chenba contemplated that he couldn't do anything because he wasn't strong enough, and yet, he thought he'd gotten so much stronger. Also, he was worried about Ailey. Though those people kicked her out, they were the same party before. Seeing those people right in front of him frustrates him, but right now, there's nothing more he can do. He gritted his teeth in anger. As Shiratai tried to speak, Ailey suddenly spoke, apologizing because if she hadn't suggested they should keep exploring, none of this would have happened. If Adelina and the others had just stayed hidden in the cave, they might have survived. Chenba disagrees with her, but Ailey shouted that Adelina protected her because she was useless. She added that if something like this happens again, if people get hurt trying to protect her. She didn't finish her sentence and burst into cry. Chenba abruptly spoke, saying he was guilty because even he couldn't do anything. He was useless. Ailey disagrees, stating that Chenba protected her so many times. Chenba replies that if it weren't for her light arrow, he wouldn't be standing there right now. Ailey has also saved him. Adventurers are always side by side with danger. That's why they protect their teammates, and sometimes get protected, because that's what a party is like. Chenba clenched his fist. He wanted to be the kind of adventurer who could risk his life to protect his comrades. But the way he is now, he can't protect anyone. That's why he has to get stronger. The truth is, he doesn't want it to end here, believing they can still become stronger. Aili looked at Chenba and said, "Level up." Chenba smiled at her and stated that if they didn't give up, they could become strong enough to defeat that black goblin. Aili agrees and doesn't want to give up either. She wants to be strong enough that she no longer needs to be protected. Chenba agrees. Following that, Shiratai comments that it appears the two have found their answers. Chenba requested that Shiratai consider the investigation request concluded. Though surprised, Shiratai understood. Chenba stood and stated that he was fine with ending the request, but in exchange, he requested a new quest. He wants to be assigned to the task of defeating the Black Goblin. While Shiratai got speechless, Dinkle burst into laughter. He likes the spirits that Chenba has now, then requested a key from Shiratai. While Dinkle is enjoying twirling the keys on his finger, Shiratai warns him to hide the important key. After that, Dinkle commanded Chenba to follow him. The boy asks where they are going. Dinkle replies that they will go somewhere good. They reach the guild storage room. While Dinkle struggled to find the right key, Shiratai whispered that he would do it, but Dinkle ran out of patience and broke the padlock, handing it to poor manager Shiratai. Before he enters the room, Shiratai warns him to be careful because there are valuable items inside. Following that, a thick dust burst out from the room. As the dust settled, Dinkle emerged covered in dust and coughing. Chenba asked if he was okay. Dinkle replied that he was and told them that he had found it. Chenba was stunned as he saw Dinkle holding a golden great sword. Dinkle says that the sword's name was Thunderblade Thor. Chenba remains in disbelief. Speechless, Dinkle handed the sword to Chenba. He was shocked as he took the sword because it was so heavy. Even though it's the same size as the great sword he's been using, it's many times heavier. Before he leveled up, he might have dropped it. Seeing Chenba struggling to lift the sword, Dinkle informed him that the man who wielded that sword was his comrade in arms, an A-rank adventurer. That guy was even stronger than that, but he lost his life in battle. Dinkle tells the story of what had happened in the past. That day, he was trying to stop Thor, and asked if he was trying to get himself killed. Thor turns to him and leaves his final message that rather than being protected with someone's life, he would rather risk his life to protect others because that's just who he is. Thor was a total fool who faced a dragon alone and sacrificed himself to let his team escape. Chenba asked Dinkle why he would give him that sword. Dinkle suddenly remembers what Chenba said earlier and tells him that he reminds him of Thor. He told the kid not to overthink stuff like that. The sword was free, an advance payment for a successful job. It's a direct request from Guildmaster Dinkle himself. Black Goblin Subjugation Quest. The next day, with the inherited sword in hand, Chenba presses forward. The two start their journey once more. Aili saw Chenba was catching his breath as they walked in the mountains. She then asked if he was okay, because he said that the sword was pretty heavy. Chenba admits it, remembers Dinkle told him that it's a memento from his comrade, and he got to prove that he can wield the sword properly. Even though it's heavy in more ways than one, he needs to get strong enough to handle this thing. Still, he can't beat the Black Goblin. That's why they came there, to sharpen themselves before the final battle. They arrived at the hunting grounds of brutality. On their way, they encountered 3 goblin swordsmen, just like the intel said. The two decided to confront the 3 goblin swordsmen. Aili cast her light arrow and hit one of the goblins, while Chenba rushed forward and hit the other goblin. Suddenly, he felt the sword was really heavy. Before he leveled up, he could barely swing it, but the weight gives it power, and the sword's true potential starts now as the sword glows and has lightning on it. This is an offensive sword, and its true value comes out through chained attacks. Thor generates lightning when swung quickly. When it's charged with lightning, the weight lessens, and it boosts the wielder's speed. The more you swing it, the more lightning builds up in the blade, increasing its power. That's the unique trait of Thunderblade Thor. Chenba easily defeats the 3 goblins. Aile rushed towards him and was amazed by Chenba at how he managed to kill the goblins. He thanked the sword and told Aile that if he could master this sword, then surely, but he couldn't finish his word, as he saw a giant rock from above descend towards them. He then immediately grabbed Aile and jumped to dodge the giant rock. Just as he thought, it came out as expected. A goblin leader appeared. Ailed remarks that their real goal is this giant monster. Normally, one individual acts as the leader and commands the goblins, but if multiple goblin swordsmen are leading groups, then it means there's an even higher ranking boss commanding them. That's why they gathered all kinds of intelligence and helped them pinpoint it. The prediction hit the mark. The goblin leader grabs a tree and uses it as a weapon. Chenba points out that the enemy is tough, but the experience points should be huge. They need to level up as quickly as possible. Right now, they can't afford to stop. The two braced themselves and prepared to fight. They need to find a way to get in close, so he commanded Aile to use her light arrow. Aile activated her light arrow and launched it towards the goblin leader, just as Chenba charged towards the goblin leader. The light arrow successfully lands in the goblin's eye. Taking this opportunity, Chenba prepared to attack, but suddenly sensed danger and stopped. The goblin tried to smash Chenba, but he managed to dodge the attack. Once again, Chenba jumped in to strike back, causing the goblin's headgear to be split in half. The goblin used his bare hands to counterattack, but Chenba closed enough to dodge it again. That made Aile worry. Chenba's attack barely grazed the leader. Its massive frame and wide attack range make it hard to close the distance. Then he guessed guessed it was time to test out what Dinkle had told him, the trump card. When the sword is fully charged with lightning, he can unleash it all at once. The technique is called Lightning Edge. In a swing, he unleashes a devastating power that perfectly hits the goblin leader. This power is more than he expected. The sword's weight returned to its original state once all the lightning was discharged. Now he knows that if he uses it at the wrong moment, it could cost his life. Following that, the system announced that the two got leveled up to 8. Aili leveled up twice in one go. Chenba got happy as the goblin leader gave more experience than he expected. After that, they checked their status. Chenba acquired a lesser heal, but got disappointed because his MP is too low to use it. On the other hand, Aili had acquired Light Javelin. It was an attack spell every priest dreams of, stronger than Light Arrow, so she will need to be careful when she uses it. She then flexed her muscle and said she had gotten stronger again. She felt that she could be more useful in battle and encouraged Chenba to keep pushing. Chenba thinks that Aili is really doing her best to grow stronger. He then declared that they head back to Rumble for now. Since they have already taken down the boss, randomly hunting small fry is not an efficient strategy. The real grind begins now, so they must not burn themselves out from the start. They have been on edge this whole time, so they need to take a breather once in a while. To which Aile agrees. Meanwhile, the two head back to the Rumble. Everyone got stunned as they heard a goblin leader. Chenba revealed the magic stone they had obtained from defeating the goblin leader and asked Nyako if they could get it appraised. Nyako is stunned and can't believe that Chenba can defeat a goblin leader with his current rank. Chenba couldn't say too much and reasoned it was because of their hard work, then walked away with a bag of gold in his hand. Following that, Chenba and Aile went into the tavern to have some ale. Aile comments that a good ale after so long really hits the spot. She then asked Chenba what their plan is now after defeating the goblin leader. Chenba replies that they do have a lead, so he wants to enjoy that moment and drink up without holding back. The next day, they went back to the hunting grounds of brutality again. Aile comments that they have already defeated the goblin leader there. But for Chenba, that was exactly the point. He explained that goblins form groups, but goblin leaders don't group together. Each one is always the sole boss of its own group. That's why goblin leaders are always fighting over territory, which means another goblin leader should come to expand its territory. A group of goblins suddenly appeared, which Chenba had already expected. When another goblin leader appeared from behind, it makes sense they'd keep showing up. However, this actually works in their favor, so he wants to take them all out at once. Aile agrees. Without hesitation, Chenba lunged forward and started attacking the goblins. Aile also uses her light javelin to attack the goblins. After repeatedly killing all the goblins, they leveled up to 12 and planned to head back to the Rumble. Meanwhile, in the town, a group of goblins suddenly appeared, and everyone was in panic. Shiratai noticed a noise outside while Dinkle was taking a sip of coffee. Nyako suddenly burst in, causing Dinkle's coffee to spill. She shouted that it was bad. The goblins were rampaging in the streets. Right now, D-rank and adventurers are fighting back, and she added that there's even a goblin leader among them. This statement makes Shiratai wonder why goblins are inside their town. While running, Dinkle informed Nyako that D-rank adventurers couldn't handle the goblin leaders and asked if there was anyone of a higher rank available at that time. About that, ever since that incident with Chenba and the others, mid-ranked adventurers have left the town. Dinkle understands that the adventurers bolted before anyone could ask them to help, and the ones left are clueless fools who don't know anything. Nyako is dumbfounded and agrees. Dinkle couldn't believe it and asked if there was anyone with a bit more backbone who could fight against the goblins. He then shouted to Shiratai to go to the guild warehouse and grab a decent weapon for him. Shiratai asked if he was seriously going to fight. Dinkle shouted, saying it's an emergency, and commanded him to move it. Upon seeing the commotion outside, Dinkle commented that it looked pretty bad. The remaining adventurers did their best fighting back against the goblins. On the other side, a young female priest cast her fireball spell that hit the goblin leader, but it didn't work. The goblin leader got mad and charged towards her, trying to smash her with its bare hands. Out of nowhere, light javelin successfully landed on the back of the goblin, saving the young female priest. Dinkle and Nyako glanced toward the direction the attack came from and saw Chenba and Aile. Chenba wonders why there's a goblin inside the town and why there are those wounds all over their bodies. He thinks something was off, not believing that those adventurers inflicted those injuries. He prepared to fight the goblins and commanded Aile to use that. Aile cast Enchant Light. It's her newly acquired spell, which adds a light element to a weapon, boosting its attack power. Aile's spell now enchants Chenba's sword. He then charged towards the goblins and managed to eliminate the swordsman goblin first. The adventurers were amazed at Chenba for taking down the swordsman goblin in an instant, commenting that he was strong. While Chenba is clashing with the goblins, Dinkle thinks that the boy is taking out the small fry first while efficiently charging his sword with lightning. It appears he's getting quite good at handling it. At that moment, Chenba is now fighting against the goblin leader, dodging its attacks, and then cuts its ankle, causing it to drop to the ground. Dinkle sees that the Enchant Light enhances the sword's lightning effect even further. Taking this opportunity, Chenba jumps, and with full force, he pierces his sword at the neck of the goblin leader, killing it. Watching this, the adventurers were amazed at Chenba for taking down the goblin leader so so easily. Everyone cheered for him. Dinkle also commended him for his brilliant work. He added that Chenba appears to have achieved results. Chenba affirms it. While everyone's celebrating, poor Shiratai came back, pulling out a giant hammer from the guild warehouse. He arrived too late and missed the action. Following that, Chenba explained to Dinkle about his level-up skill. Now Dinkle understands where Chenba gained that much strength in such a short time. He wondered why the boy revealed his skill to them. His skill is extremely valuable, so if word gets out, people with ill intentions will be bold enough to come after him. Well, that's because he thought he could trust them. Dinkle asked him why. Chenba answered because of his instinct. Dinkle broke into laughter, commenting on how hopelessly honest Chenba is. He jokingly says that Chenba has good eyes for people. He could feel that as he watched the two. The two awkwardly went silent, blushing. Jokes aside, Dinkle seriously asked them what they thought about the goblin leader from earlier, because goblins are usually cowardly monsters, territorial, but rarely act outside their domain. Chenba was wondering about that as well, especially those wounds all over its body. Dinkle revealed that it had never happened before, concluding there must be a reason. Hearing this, Chenba froze, thinking that the black goblin must be involved. Shiratai explains his theory based on what Chenba said before. Even black goblins were attacking each other. If that is true, then that one possibility was that the black goblin didn't see other goblins as allies, or it was a battle maniac that attacked indiscriminately. The goblin leader had been attacked by the black goblin and fled to their town. Dinkle affirms that it is entirely possible. If that's true, they don't have much time before the black goblin's influence spreads any further. Aile and Chenba looked at each other, then shouted that they would settle that matter. Thereafter, the two bid their goodbye. Nyako informs them that in a few days, reinforcements from other guilds should arrive. Chenba thanks her because he knows it's dangerous, but they never know when something like this will happen again. Besides, they want to be the ones to finish things with the black goblin. Nyako understands and told the two to return safely. The two arrived at the Noye forest. They continued to walk deeply and stopped when they saw the corpse of a cave boar that was split clean in two. Chenba observes the corpse, and he notices that there is no sign that the meat has been eaten. Even the magic stone is untouched. Ailey deduces that the only one who would do this is the black goblin, who is still in the forest. They continue their journey until they come far deep in the forest. Suddenly, Ailey got scared as she saw a giant spider. Chenba immediately sliced the spider in half. He then asked Ailey if she was okay. Ailey looked frightened and asked him what that was. Chenba answered that it is a paralyzed spider, and the place seems like their territory, so they need to get out of there quickly. Ailey felt something off. They ran into all kinds of monsters since entering the forest, but they hadn't seen a single goblin. Chenba thinks that was true. Even though it was daytime, they felt like they were in a completely different forest from before. He told her something strange is definitely happening, and she agrees. As they continue to walk, Chenba hand signals her to stop. They were both surprised as they discovered the goblin's dwelling. It is the reason why they didn't see the goblins, because they all gather here. It's like they're on guard against something. They decided to observe the goblins for a while, as the sun was soon setting. They needed to rest while watching and take turns, keeping a watch on the goblins. While Ailey is deeply asleep, Chenba is still awake, observing the goblins. The sky's starting to brighten, but there is no change in the goblin's behavior. While he thinks that there's no point in watching that place anymore, the black goblin has returned. Chenba thinks that the black goblin's dwelling is really its territory, but something is off about how the other goblins are reacting. He then silently woke up Ailey. She woke up and asked if something had happened. Chenba whispered, saying that the black goblin had appeared. Ailey's eyes widened as she saw the black goblin. Her fear flashed her back to the moment the black goblin had killed Adelina. Chenba asked her if she was okay, to which she affirmed yes. She needs to pull herself together. She can't just keep relying on others to protect her. She then whispered, asking if the black goblin's sudden arrival meant it was the boss of that place. That's Chenba's thought too, but he feels something off. The black goblin came near the goblin's den, and just like that, he killed one goblin. Chenba and Ailey are in shock at what they have witnessed. As the other goblin tried to escape, the black goblin swung his sword and killed the other. Seeing this, the other goblins fled, rushing to save their lives. Chenba remarks that the reason they haven't seen any goblins in the forest is that the goblins were hiding from the black goblin. To it, the idea of kin doesn't even exist. It doesn't care if you're human or a monster. Everything is just prey. It's a monster that lives only to fight and kill for fun. The black goblin was the main reason why the goblins fled from the forest and showed up in Rumble. Seeing the black goblin is leaving, the two pack only the essentials and plan on going after it. As they silently follow their target, the black goblin charged towards them as it noticed them. When the black goblin got close to them, Ailey cast her light javelin immediately and successfully hit it. This caused the black goblin to be thrown away. Chenba commended her for a good hit, but it's not over yet. The black goblin stood and took off his thorn cape. Chenba and Ailey stared at each other, then rushed to run. The goblin noticed it, so he chased them. As the two fled, Chenba points out that he leveled up. His speed has increased too, so it won't catch him easily. The chase continued until Chenba and Ailey stopped when the goblin stepped into their trap. It was the paralysis spider's thread. Without hesitation, the goblin swung his sword and easily easily freed himself from the trap. That might not hold it for long, but even a moment's distraction was enough for Chenba. That destruction allowed Ailey to cast her enchant light on Chenba's sword. As the goblins get closer, they brace themselves and want revenge. That's why they're leveling up, waiting for this moment. While the boy charged towards the goblins, Ailey cast her light javelin once again, but this time it missed. Black Goblin was surprised as Chenba got closer to him and was ready to strike him. He managed to block Chenba's attack using his sword, but almost hit him in the ear. On the other side, Chenba thinks his attack has landed, and he can handle Thor like it's just a chunk of iron now. With his base strength and the enchant light, his power is on another level. He still doesn't know what the Black Goblin is thinking, but he can tell. It's pissed off right now. While they are clashing and exchanging attacks, Chenba thinks that the Black Goblin never even used a sword. It has always crushed opponents with sheer power and speed. However, keeping up with its speed is now easy. His sword gets stronger the more lightning it stores. Right then, Black Goblin's sword clashed with Chenba's. Chenba released an incredible power that struck the Black Goblin successfully. Ailey commended him for overpowering the Black Goblin, but for Chenba, he knows that thing still has that move. Then the Goblin ignites a green flame on his sword, the technique that broke Chenba's previous sword before. Chenba knows that with his lightning sword, it won't go like last time. The Black Goblin launched to attack, but Chenba managed to strike it in the chest, causing blood to scatter. He thinks he did hit it because he definitely felt it. The Black Goblin changed its form, its nails, hair, and fangs stretched in length. Chenba was shocked, not expecting this transformation. As the Black Goblin screams in anger, Chenba instructed Ailey to get back. He thinks it has grown bigger and questions whether this is also due to the evil god's blessing. The Black Goblin swiftly dashes at him, surprising Chenba. It was so fast. He was having a hard time blocking its attack because its speed and power had increased dramatically. Those claws are like blades that slice clean through. This is bad. He needs to put some distance between them. At this rate, he won't be able to keep up. The Goblin was about to end his life when Ailey cast her light javelin, hitting the Black Goblin on the face. Goblin strikes once again, but Chenba barely avoids it. Chenba realized that even though the light javelin hit directly, it didn't work. But as he saw the Goblin's face, it looked like it had taken some damage. Ailey decided to keep on attacking using her light javelin, but the Goblin easily dodged all her attacks. Chenba mentions that its movements are unpredictable. It's like a wild beast. With that in mind, he decided to fight the way of a tank. While he will draw its attention, Ailey will strike when she sees an opening. He struck his sword forward, but the Goblin managed to evade. It then swung its claw down, but the boy managed to block. In his command, Aile fires her light javelin, hitting the giant. At the same time, Chenba strikes his sword towards the Goblin, but it manages to move in time, avoiding fatal wounds. The Goblin jumped back to create a distance, and furiously glared at them. Though its beast-like movements are a pain to deal with, it's more emotional than before it transformed. Adding to his advantage was that he had a long-range comrade. The two of them have leveled up together until now, and have solid coordination. He rushes forward, swinging his sword. While the Goblin blocks his sword using its left claw, it uses its right hand to deflect Ailey's light javelin. Chenba swung his sword again, but the giant could still block it. He creates some distance, observing the giant. Noticing its stamina is slowly wearing down, he decided to back off for now. However, the beast charged in, so he had no choice but to fight back. Ailey worriedly observed their fight, and when she was about to attack, the giant noticed it and swiftly moved behind Chenba. Is this monster using Chenba as a shield to throw off their attack? Just now, she felt like the beast turned its attention towards her. Chenba signaled her, and when she fired, the Goblin deflected it. Is it adapting to their strategy? While Ailey seems to be burning through a lot of MP, our boy didn't know how long his stamina would hold out either. But it's the same for the beast, who is clearly running low on stamina. This is the turning point. His sword spirit energy is almost full. Now is their chance to go all in. The two rush to each other, but before he strikes, the giant jumps and lands in front of Ailey. Oh crap, this is bad. Its target was Ailey. Chenba worriedly shouted her name, but the beast's claw was already raised and pierced it towards Ailey. Blood splashes as the beast removes its claw from her body. On the other hand, your moron MC all do was shout her name, and didn't even move. The Goblin turns its attention towards him and then rushes to strike. Chenba blocks it and uses force to push it. He swung his sword randomly, desperate to deal with this monster quickly so he could save Ailey. However, the beast blocks all his attacks. Struggling to break through, Chenba instructed her to use a healing potion. Unfortunately, with this kind of wound, healing probably won't work. She grabbed the wand using her remaining strength and fired a light arrow in a certain direction. That act leaves him confused. The giant swung its claw, with Chenba barely dodging it. With that, his face got wounded. He retaliates and manages to inflict damage on the enemy's chest. He can tell from its movements that it was nearly out of stamina. Now this is the right moment to finish this thing. While he raised his sword with thunderlight, the Goblin imbued an aura in its hand. Seeing that it also had a trump card, he planned to strike before it did. However, that plan didn't work, because the Goblin claw reached his body before he did. Again, he couldn't protect anyone. As Ailey's memory flashed in his mind, he suddenly leveled up. His HP and MP were fully recovered. He He didn't expect this sudden level up, and recalled that when they encountered the spiders, his and Ailey's EXP needed to level up was 30. He plans to level up more that time, but Ailey stops him. She suggested using the full recovery from leveling up to their advantage. It was their last resort comeback strategy. However, they can't gain EXP without defeating monsters. They will need to fight somewhere with small monsters that won't get in the way. With that, they decided to do the battle near the paralyzed spider's nest. Chenba couldn't believe that even in this situation, Ailey remembered that moment. In the end, he was the one always being saved. His sword emitted lightning as he held it tightly, and then swung it towards the monster. Blood gushes from the monster's wound, and it desperately attacks. Chenba, now confident, stated that those weak, sloppy attacks would no longer hit him. The beast raised its dark, smelly underarm and was about to attack, but was suddenly hit by a light javelin. Seeing her standing alive, Chenba was relieved. On the other hand, the monster was confused to see her in good condition. Chenba rushes to attack, but the beast blocks it and pushes his sword. It retaliated with its claw, but the boy ducked to dodge and swung his sword to the side, injuring the enemy. He apologized, stating this was his skill. He moved closer to Ailey to receive the buff from her lightning enchantment, and then raised his sword. As the goblins rushed at them, they simultaneously unleashed their unique skill, Lightning Edge and Lightning Javelin. That combined attack hit the target. It tried to shield itself, but the attack was too powerful, and it almost disintegrated its body. As the thick smoke gradually cleared, the black goblin's body turned to charcoal and slowly crumbled to the ground. The two fist bumped and prepared for the next battle because they were now surrounded by small fry. Seriously, is this the reward they will get after defeating that black goblin? Shouldn't they at least treat them to a round of ale? Well, anyway, since Chenba leveled up after the tough fight, this bunch of idiots means nothing now. To their shock, a gigantic creature moved the trees as it gazed down at them. This gigantic creature was the king goblin. The king stomps its feet towards them, but they manage to avoid it. If they get hit by that thing, they will surely be done for. The king swiftly moved its hand towards them, so Chenba pushed Isle to save her. With that, he was easily captured by the creature. As he thinks that things have turned terribly bad, the king goblin's head was suddenly cut off and fell to the ground. Chenba also fell but managed to land gracefully. He looked above and was surprised to see his former leader Jane, who apologized for keeping him waiting. While Ayla asked if he was okay and was about to heal him, Jane activated extra heal towards him. That shocked our ugly lady to her core, wondering if it was an advanced healing magic. Not only did he defeat the king goblin in one strike, but he can also use an extra heal. A lady from my drawer reminded Jane that there are still some small fry. Jane agreed, and Chenba's part was to rest easy. Chenba, trying to stay sharp, stated he wants to see what he has got. So this is the reinforcement Nyako mentioned? He could see Jane had grown a lot as well, but just how much? The two walked towards the goblins, who surround them in no time. With a flick of his hand as he activated the overdrive chain lightning, the goblins near him were electrocuted and fell to the ground. Seeing that made the other get frightened, so they tried to flee, but the lady from my drawer won't let them escape. She used a strange spell that flew towards the goblins and exploded upon contact. Goblin's eyes almost pop out of its socket as Jane prepares to attack. In a swing, using the sword flash radiance, the remaining goblins meet their end. Jane posed like me when I was still handsome, and then turned to Chenba, apologizing for keeping him waiting. Just look at these two weaklings' reaction. Chenba coughed up phlegm before telling Aile that it was the place they should aim for. Meanwhile, in a lively tavern, Chenba and Jane were having a drink. It's been a while since Jane's last drink with him. They used to have drinking contests back then, all the time. Chenba agreed, recalling that he never managed to win a single one. Regarding Marta and Naru, after Chenba left, Jane disbanded the group. Honestly, even he couldn't handle those two anymore. Meanwhile, my sexy lady was having a good time after taking down 5 alcoholic idiots in a row. She still hasn't had enough to drink, so she ordered the servant to bring more. This girl is teamed up with Dragwell as part of the new Dawn Party. She is known as the Dragon Priestess, an artificial dragon created to guard the Holy Sword. When Jane pulled out the Holy Sword, she acknowledged him as the new bearer. That news was so unbelievable that Chenba couldn't even process it. He put the mug down and responded that Jane was amazing. Chenba thought he had come a long way himself, but compared to Jane's heroic tales, Chenba was just a mere nothing who hunts goblins. Jane disagrees, stating Chenba had grown tremendously as well. He is the one who defeated that blessed one in the forest. Even if it's just a goblin swordsman, that's still a huge deal. Your ugly MC's nose almost reached the other universe with that praise, but when it dawned on him that the goblin was a swordsman, he rose from his chair and inquired if that black goblin was really a swordsman. Jane affirmed it. That revelation almost drained his energy. No wonder he didn't level up and didn't even get EXP after beating the Black Goblin. Blessed monster is complete BS. Jane clarified that Chenba's growth wasn't just about strength. When he went to report to the Rumble Guild earlier, he realized something. People actually need Chenba now. Being praised that much by Jane made our boy think he really had grown. Jane agreed and told him to have more confidence in himself. Jane was about to say something but was cut off when Ailey approached them, drunk as usual, inviting Chenba to drink more. Chenba turned his attention back to Jane and inquired about what he was going to say. Jane smiled, saying it was nothing. He will do his best not to lose to Chenba. What's that supposed to mean? Being passive-aggressive? When Jane responded, it wasn't like that. Chenba stated he won't lose either. Someday he will stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Well, that might become possible, but in terms of height, it is impossible. For today, they will just toast to their growth. The next day, the ugly moron who looked like a stress monkey went to the guild with Isle. Shiratai welcomed them as the hero who saved the Rumble and stated that the guild highly values their effort. He suggested leaving this town, informing them that Dinkle has prepared a letter of introduction to the guild in Bold. Bold is a much bigger town than here, and the monsters around it are stronger too. But with Ailey and Chenba's current strength, he was certain it should be no problem. Besides, the monsters around the Rumble were becoming too easy for them. He asks what the two think about moving on to the next stage. After some time, the two arrive at Bold. After showing the guild card to the guard, they were permitted to enter. The two were in awe as they scanned the surroundings. The town was huge and it was packed with people. There are also foods he has never seen before. Bold feels like a place full of new experiences, and he was grateful to Shiratai for recommending it. As the two continued walking, they realized that even a whole day wouldn't be enough to see everything. On top of that, Bold is divided into two districts. The Noble District is on the west side, and the Commoner District is on the east, supposedly separated by a tall wall. So if they're gearing up, they should stick to the east side, where skilled craftsmen probably gathered too. Ale inquired if it was okay not to go with Jane. Chenba thinks about that as well, but since he ended up relying on him again, he decided it would be better if they level up at their own pace. For now, they will check the guild first. At the Bold Adventurer, they were warmly welcomed by the two pairs of heavy melons. Observing how his stick went wild, Ailey coughed up phlegm. Chenba looked at her before telling the two receptionists that Dinkle preferred him. The receptionist politely led them to the counter, and after confirming he was a C rank, she told him they had two quests available for him. These two quests are related to the threat facing Dubdo. They are important quests tied to a certain danger. That surprised Chenba, and he asked why them because they were just newcomers. Well, Dinkle informed them that even if the quests are a bit much, they won't die, so it's fine. When they received the quest details, they learned that a merchant caravan had been attacked by mysterious monsters in northern Bold. That wyvern attack resulted in a kidnapping incident. Wyvern? Aren't they a pretty tough opponent? However, since they had leveled up significantly, it was a good opportunity to test their skills. They went to the place where the attack happened. There, they noticed that the monster-repelling road seemed to be damaged. When asked what was wrong, Ayla came closer and voiced out that she was expecting they would go straight for the wyvern. Well, they could go straight for the wyvern for sure, but they should warm up first. Besides, the monsters in Bold are said to be stronger than those in Rumble, so they should level up too. He asks what's with her reaction and clarifies that he wasn't scared or anything. There's a proper order to things. They heard an animal sound from the wagon and approached it, wondering if this wagon wasn't from the caravan that had been attacked. When he looked at it, a strange ball bumped his face and landed behind. It was a cute little sheep. Aile tried to approach the arable sheep, but Chenba warned her, stating it was still a monster. Aile continued approaching the sheep, informing him that it was injured. As she told the sheep it was okay now, they suddenly heard simultaneously sounds from other sheep. A group of sheep surrounded them before one of them kicked the little one. That action shocked them. Aren't they the same kind? Furious, Aile shouted, asking how dare they hurt May. Wow, she already named it. Seeing the approaching group of ugly morons, the king of idiots threw his bag and prepared for battle. He assumed these sheep were the monsters who attacked the caravan. Since it was their first time fighting this kind of enemy, Chenba decided to go first. He knew that just charging in with brute force was a reckless rush, so he decided to counter them. He swung his sword with force, hitting it successfully and bouncing towards the other before flying to the other universe. He looked at the beaten opponents and wondered what that feeling was right now. Aile praised him, amazed that he could take them down in just one hit. Chenba was about to deny it when the beaten opponents stood up, showing their true form. With that, he realized that the fluffy fur absorbed the attack. Wait a second, if all their fur falls off, does that mean they can only nullify attacks once? He instructed Ailey to attack, and when she did, his conclusion became certain. In that case, he will attack them with his sword. Now that they know how to fight them, they are not much of a threat. The two continued fighting the enemies until they defeated them all. Observing that there were no signs of the caravan anymore, Chenba hoped they had made it to town. He suggested heading back to the Bold, but Ailey rushed towards the injured sheep and healed it. Chenba reminded her that it was still a monster, but Ailey knew that. However, this one was attacked by its own group. Because it looked different, she concluded it was probably bullied bullied. She knew what it's like not to be needed by her group. That's why she wants to keep this one. Chenba agreed, recalling that there are adventurers who fight using monsters. Still, that was only possible if one had a monster tamer skill. The angry sheep, a unique specimen, is looking at them as if it wants to join. Should he add it to his party or not? Chapters end at 13. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you loved this manga. Have a good day.